After Babylon fell, prophecy did not pause. The transition of power happened exactly as Daniel had foretold decades earlier. In Daniel 2:32, the statue revealed to Nebuchadnezzar had a head of gold, but it did not end there. The chest and arms were made of silver. Daniel interpreted the vision clearly in Daniel 2:39, "After you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you." That statement was not vague. It was not symbolic without anchor. It was a direct prediction that Babylon would not last forever. And history records precisely what happened next. Daniel 5 describes the final night of Babylon's supremacy. Belshazzar held a feast, confident in the strength of his city. The walls were thick, the gates were fortified. The Euphrates flowed beneath the city. Babylon believed itself untouchable. Yet during that celebration, a mysterious hand wrote on the wall. Daniel was summoned to interpret the message. He told the king that his kingdom had been weighed and found wanting. And Daniel 5:30-31 records the fulfillment in simple language. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was slain. The golden head fell in a single night. The empire that replaced Babylon was not random. It was Medo-Persia. The dual nature of that power is reflected in the statue's design. The chest and two arms of silver symbolize two united powers operating together. The Medes and the Persians formed a coalition. At first, the Medes were dominant, but Persia eventually became the stronger side of the alliance. Still, the empire functioned as a combined authority. If this word is encouraging your faith, hit like and consider subscribing. It truly helps the message go further. Daniel 8 confirms this identification without ambiguity. In Daniel 8:3, Daniel sees a ram with two horns. One horn is higher than the other, and the higher one comes up last. The interpretation is given directly in Daniel 8:20. The ram which you saw, having the two horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. Scripture explains its own symbols. The silver chest and arms of Daniel 2 correspond to the ram with two horns in Daniel 8. The sequence remains consistent. Babylon, then Medo-Persia. Silver itself carries meaning. It is less valuable than gold. The prophecy describes the second kingdom as inferior to Babylon in Daniel 2:39. Inferior does not mean weaker militarily. In fact, Medo-Persia built one of the largest empires the ancient world had seen. Inferior refers to splendor, unity, and centralized magnificence. Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar was culturally brilliant and architecturally astonishing. Persia was expansive, administrative, and powerful, but structurally different. Authority became more distributed. The unity of gold gave way to the broader structure of silver. Historically, Medo-Persia expanded in exactly the directions Daniel described. Daniel 8:4 says, "The ram pushed westward, northward, and southward, and that no beast could withstand him." Persia did not expand east because it already controlled territory in that direction. Instead, it moved west into Asia Minor, north into Armenia and surrounding regions, and south into Egypt. The prophetic description matches the historical record. Cyrus the Great played a central role in this expansion. Under his leadership, Babylon fell in 539 BC. But Cyrus is significant not only politically. He appears in biblical prophecy long before his birth. Isaiah 44:28 records God saying of Cyrus, "He is my shepherd, and he shall perform all my pleasure." Isaiah 45:1 even calls him the Lord's anointed. That prophecy was written more than a century before Cyrus existed. Yet when Babylon fell, Cyrus issued a decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. Ezra 1:1-2 records this decree. The Medo-Persian Empire became the instrument through which God restored his people. This is crucial. Prophecy does not present empires merely as political powers. They are instruments within a larger divine plan. Babylon disciplined Judah. Medo-Persia released them. The shift from gold to silver was not just geopolitical, it was redemptive in consequence. Medo-Persia also introduced a legal system that became famously rigid. The law of the Medes and Persians could not be altered once enacted. Daniel 6 illustrates this clearly. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den under King Darius, the king himself could not reverse the decree because it was established according to that law, Daniel 6:8-15. This inflexible legal structure is part of the empire's prophetic profile. It reveals a system of governance rooted in permanence and administrative order. The Silver Kingdom ruled for over 2 centuries. It provided relative stability across vast territories. It built roads, established communication systems, and allowed a degree of local autonomy within its provinces. Yet prophecy already declared that it would not last indefinitely. Daniel 2:39 continues. Then a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. The statute does not stop at silver. The sequence moves forward. Medo-Persia was powerful but transitional. Daniel 8 adds more detail. After the ram, Daniel sees a male goat coming from the west with notable speed. Daniel 8:21 identifies this goat as Greece. The prophecy moves seamlessly from Babylon to Medo-Persia to Greece. History confirms this order exactly. In 331 BC, Alexander the Great defeated the Persian forces at the Battle of Gaugamela. The silver chest gave way to bronze. The accuracy of this sequence is not accidental. When Daniel wrote, Babylon still stood. Persia had not yet taken power. Greece was not yet an empire. Rome was still centuries away from dominance, yet the order was revealed in advance. This is what gives Daniel its weight. It is not retrospective commentary, it is predictive revelation. Medo-Persia's role also connects to the larger prophetic timeline. In Daniel 9, the 70 weeks prophecy begins with a decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. That decree was issued during the Persian period. Without Medo-Persia, the prophetic clock leading toward the Messiah would not have been set in motion. The Silver Kingdom becomes a bridge between judgment and restoration, between exile and rebuilding. At the same time, Medo-Persia was not portrayed as morally superior to Babylon. It was simply the next stage in the unfolding sequence. Every empire in Daniel eventually falls. The metals decrease in value as they descend the statue: gold, silver, bronze, iron mixed with clay. Human kingdoms do not ascend morally or spiritually. They fragment, they decline, they move further from unity and closer to division. The transition from gold to silver also reveals a pattern. God allows empires to rise. He allows them to reach dominance, but He does not allow them to remain indefinitely. Daniel 2:21 states clearly, He removes kings and raises up kings. Political power is not ultimate, it is temporary. Medo-Persia's fall to Greece proves that point again. No empire believed it would collapse. Persia appeared invincible, its armies were vast, its administration was organized. Yet, prophecy had already announced that another kingdom would follow. The beauty of this prophetic structure is its simplicity. Daniel 2 outlines the sequence. Daniel 7 repeats it with different imagery. Daniel 8 zooms in on Medo-Persia and Greece. The story does not change. The symbols differ, but the order remains intact. This consistency strengthens confidence in the text. If Babylon was correctly identified as the head of God, and Medo-Persia correctly followed as the chest and arms of silver, then the remaining kingdoms deserve serious consideration as well. The prophecy has already demonstrated reliability. Medo-Persia, therefore, stands as more than a historical empire. It is a link in a prophetic chain. It confirms that God's revelation unfolds in measurable stages. It shows that divine prediction aligns with historical reality. It demonstrates that transitions of power are neither random nor chaotic. They occur within a framework already revealed. And yet, even this empire, expansive and influential as it was, did not represent the final solution to humanity's longing for stability. Silver replaced gold, but it did not solve the deeper issue of human fragility. Power changed hands, but the world remained restless. The statue continued downward. Bronze would follow, then iron, then division. Medo-Persia fulfilled its role precisely as described. It conquered Babylon, it expanded in the directions foretold, it allowed the restoration of Jerusalem, it established a rigid legal structure, and after its appointed time, it yielded to Greece. The accuracy of that progression matters, because if the second kingdom came exactly as predicted, then the rest of the statue cannot be dismissed casually. The chest of silver is not a vague symbol. It is a historic reality anchored in scripture and confirmed by events. Babylon fell, silver rose, history followed prophecy, and the sequence moved forward exactly as Daniel declared. When Daniel described the chest and arms of silver in Daniel 2:32, he was not simply announcing that another empire would follow Babylon. He was revealing something about the nature of power itself. The gold of Babylon gives way to silver. The transition is not accidental, it is deliberate. The metal changes, and with it, the character of the kingdom. Silver is precious, but it is not gold. It carries value, but it lacks the same splendor. Babylon was unified, centralized, intensely personal under Nebuchadnezzar. Medo-Persia, by contrast, was structured differently. It was a dual kingdom. That detail matters. Daniel 2 does not describe a simple silver torso. It describes chest and arms of silver. Two arms, one body. Daniel 5 confirms the historical transition. On the night Babylon fell, Daniel interpreted the writing on the wall and declared, "Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians." Daniel 5:28. That very night, Darius the Mede received the kingdom. Daniel 5:31. The prophecy of Daniel 2 moved from prediction to fulfillment without delay. Gold gave way to silver, exactly as revealed. Daniel 8 removes all ambiguity. The ram with two horns is explicitly identified. The ram which you saw, having the two horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. Daniel 8:20. One horn was higher than the other, and it came up last. Daniel 8:3. Historically, Persia rose after Media, but became dominant. The dual nature of the empire matches the two arms of silver and the two horns of the ram. The symbolism is not vague, it is precise. Silver also suggests something else, strength, but less concentrated glory. Babylon dazzled the ancient world. Its hanging gardens, its golden temples, its architectural magnificence were legendary. Medo-Persia was powerful, but administrative rather than spectacular. It organized territory into satrapies. It codified law. It built systems. The glory shifted from display to structure. Daniel 6 provides a window into that structure. Under Darius, the kingdom was divided into 120 satrapies. Daniel 6:1. Above them were 3 administrators, one of whom was Daniel. This layered system reflects the ordered, bureaucratic nature of the empire. Authority was formalized, and within that structure, one concept stands out: the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter Daniel 6:8. Once sealed, a decree could not be revoked even by the king himself, Daniel 6:12-15. This legal immutability defined the empire's identity. This becomes deeply significant theologically. Medo-Persia believed in the permanence of its decrees. The king's signature carried irreversible authority. Yet, Daniel 6 exposes the limits of that confidence. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den under an unchangeable law, heaven intervened. The decree was fixed. God was not. The empire's law was rigid. God's sovereignty was living and active. The Cyrus kingdom represents more than political transition. It represents a system built on legal permanence. And yet, that system itself would not last. Daniel 8 describes the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward. Historically, Medo-Persia expanded exactly in those directions: westward into Asia Minor and toward Greece, northward into Armenia and regions beyond, southward into Egypt. The prophecy aligns with the geographic movements of the empire. The language is not symbolic poetry detached from reality. It reflects military campaigns. Cyrus conquered Lydia in the west. Cambyses invaded Egypt in the south. The empire stretched across vast territories, becoming one of the largest in the ancient world. Yet Daniel 2 had already established a principle: each kingdom would be followed by another. The sequence was fixed. The statue descends from gold to silver, from silver to bronze. The pattern suggests diminishing intrinsic value. Power continues, but purity decreases. Why is silver inferior to gold? Not in economic value alone, but in symbolic density. Gold is singular. Silver is divided. The Medo-Persian Empire, though vast, was a coalition. Two peoples, two identities, one structure. This duality becomes a subtle weakness. The higher horn rising later in Daniel 8:3 reflect internal imbalance. Persia overshadowed Media. Unity existed, but not perfect equality. That imbalance foreshadows vulnerability. Daniel 2 never implies that the second kingdom would be weak, only that it would be inferior. Daniel 2:39. Not in military success. Medo-Persia conquered Babylon without prolonged siege. It maintained dominance for over 2 centuries. Inferior likely refers to concentrated sovereignty and symbolic glory. Under Babylon, the king embodied the empire. Under Medo-Persia, law embodied the empire. Authority shifted from personality to statute. This shift matters prophetically. Systems that rely on rigid law may appear stable, but history shows that inflexibility can become fragility. When a decree cannot be adjusted, injustice becomes entrenched unless corrected by higher authority. Daniel 6 demonstrates that tension. The law against prayer could not be reversed, yet God reversed the outcome. Daniel emerged unharmed. The lions' mouths were shut, Daniel 6:22. The king who believed his decree was absolute discovered that divine authority supersedes imperial law. This thing prepares the ground for future prophetic developments. Human systems may declare permanence. God defines permanence. Medo-Persia also plays a redemptive role in biblical history. Cyrus, king of Persia, issued the decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return and rebuild Jerusalem, Ezra 1:1-4. Isaiah had named Cyrus more than a century earlier. Isaiah 44:28, 45:1. The silver kingdom became an instrument in God's covenant purposes. This reinforces the pattern seen throughout Daniel. Empires rise for reasons larger than themselves. They move along a line determined by heaven. Yet even as Medo-Persia served divine purposes, it was not ultimate. Daniel 8 shows the ram standing strong until a male goat from the west attacks, Daniel 8:5-7. The goat represents Greece, Daniel 8:21. The transition is sudden. The ram is struck. Its horns are broken. Its power collapses. Historically, Alexander the Great defeated the Persian forces in a series of rapid campaigns beginning in 334 BC. Within a decade, the once dominant Silver Empire had fallen. The image in Daniel 2 anticipated this. Silver would not endure indefinitely. No empire does. The progression from gold to silver teaches a larger principle. Human authority declines in moral and symbolic density over time. Structures grow more complex. Systems grow more legalistic. Power becomes more distributed, but permanence remains elusive. Daniel's interpretation in chapter 2 was not abstract theology. It was a chronological framework. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, division. The sequence moves forward without interruption. The silver stage confirms that prophecy operates within history with measurable precision. The identity of Medo-Persia is not speculative. It is textually explicit in Daniel 8:20 and historically verifiable in Daniel 5. And yet, even as we identify the empire, the deeper lesson must not be missed. Medo-Persia represents a phase in the unfolding of earthly dominion. It demonstrates that administrative strength cannot secure eternity. Legal systems cannot halt prophetic succession. Expansion cannot prevent transition. Daniel witnessed the fall of Babylon. He served under Darius and Cyrus. He lived through the silver phase. He saw firsthand that even powerful empires are transitional. The chest and arms of silver carried weight. They supported the statue. They mattered, but they were never the final form. History confirms what prophecy declared. The Medo-Persian Empire rose precisely where Daniel said it would. It functioned exactly as symbolized, dual, structured, expensive, and it fell exactly when the next kingdom was ready to rise. This continuity between revelation and fulfillment is not accidental. It establishes confidence in the entire framework. If silver was Medo-Persia, and if that identification is clear, then the remaining metals demand equal seriousness. The statue stands as a timeline. Gold became silver. Silver became bronze. The sequence is not broken, and in recognizing Medo-Persia as the chest and arms of silver, we are not merely naming a historical empire. We are observing the steady movement of human power along the path that leads somewhere beyond human power altogether. Silver had its moment. It shaped history. It administered justice imperfectly. It expanded territory. It enforced decrees. It built structure. But it could not secure permanence. And that is the consistent lesson of every metal in the statue. The head of gold dazzled, the chest and arms of silver organized, but both eventually yielded. Because the vision was never ultimately about the metals. It was about the stone. If the head of gold dazzled the ancient world and the chest and arms of silver organized it, then the question that naturally follows is this: what do we do with that knowledge? Prophecy is not preserved merely to satisfy historical truth. It is revealed so that faith can stand on something solid. We have watched the transition from Babylon to Medo-Persia exactly as Daniel described in Daniel 2. We have seen Daniel 5 record the fall of one empire in a single night. We have seen Daniel 8:20 remove any doubt about the identity of the ram. The ram which you saw, having the two horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. The correspondence between vision and history is precise, and that precision demands a response. Because if God accurately foretold the rise and fall of empires centuries in advance, then history is not random. Power is not chaotic. Nations do not simply rise by accident and collapse by chance. There is a sovereign hand guiding the broad sweep of human events. Medo-Persia believed its laws were unchangeable. Daniel 6 repeats the phrase, the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter Daniel 6:8. Kings signed decrees believing they were permanent. Yet, those decrees are now relics of history. The empire that once stretched from India to Ethiopia exists only in textbooks and ruins. The lesson is unavoidable. Human systems declare permanence. God alone possesses it. Silver replaced gold. Bronze would replace silver. Iron would replace bronze. And eventually, even iron would fracture. Every metal in the statue testifies to the same reality. Earthly dominion is temporary. But here is where prophecy shifts from historical analysis to personal application. If empires are temporary, what about the structures we build our lives upon? If kingdoms collapse, what about the ambitions we pursue as though they are eternal? If Medo-Persia could dominate the known world and still fall within the prophetic timeline, what confidence do we place in modern systems? The statue in Daniel 2 was not only a geopolitical outline, it was a warning about misplaced security. Nebuchadnezzar looked at Babylon and said, "Is not this great Babylon that I have built?" Daniel 4:30. The kings of Persia sealed decrees believing their authority was absolute, yet both gold and silver were merely stages in a larger narrative. There is something sobering about that realization. We live in a world that prizes stability, economic systems, political influence, legal frameworks, and yet Daniel's prophecy quietly declares that no arrangement of human power will endure. That does not mean we withdraw from society. Daniel served faithfully under multiple empires. He worked within Babylonian and Persian administration. He prayed, he advised kings, he remained engaged. But he never confused the kingdom he served with the kingdom that lasts. That distinction is everything. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den under an river, it came from confidence in God. When Babylon fell in a single night, Daniel did not panic. He had already seen the sequencing vision. Prophecy gave him stability in unstable times. And that is one of its primary purposes for us as well. We are not given the statue of Daniel 2 so that we can debate ancient chronology endlessly. We are given this statue so that when modern structures shake, we are not shaken with them. When systems change, when economies shift, when political alliances collapse, we remember that gold and silver were always transitional. The real climax of Daniel 2 is not the silver chest. It is the stone cut without hands that strikes the image and becomes a mountain filling the whole earth. Daniel 2, 34, 35, 45, 45. Every metal gives way to that stone. That means history is not drifting toward chaos. It is moving toward conclusion. The Medo-Persian Empire once seemed invincible. It built roads, organized provinces, commanded armies. But it was part of a sequence, not the destination. And the same is true of every empire that followed. So the question becomes deeply personal. Where is your hope anchored? Is it in gold that glitters? In silver that structures? In iron that enforces? Or in the kingdom that Daniel saw outlast them all? Prophecy calls us to perspective. The rise of Medo-Persia confirms that God's word is trustworthy. The fall of Medo-Persia confirms that human glory is fragile. Together, they teach that confidence must rest somewhere higher than political permanence. There is also encouragement here. Just as Babylon's dominance ended, so did Persia's. No season lasts indefinitely. For those who suffer under unjust systems, Daniel's statue whispers hope. This too will pass. Authority that exalts itself eventually yields to a greater authority. And that greater authority is not symbolic. It is personal.
The God who revealed the identity of the Silver Kingdom is the same God who governs your present moment.
He does not merely predict history, he directs it. He does not merely measure empires, he measures time itself. If he knew when Babylon would fall, he knows the boundaries of your trials. If he set limits on Persian dominance, he sets limits on every season of pressure you face. This is not abstract theology. It is the foundation for steady faith. Daniel did not know every detail of how history would unfold, but he knew the one who stood above it. That knowledge gave him courage to pray when prayer was forbidden, to interpret dreams when kings trembled, to remain faithful when decrees threatened his life. And the same invitation stands before us. Will we live as though silver is eternal, or will we recognize that it is part of a passing sequence? The chest and arms of silver fulfill the role precisely as foretold. They rose, they ruled, they fell. But the vision did not end there, neither does your story. Because beyond gold, beyond silver, beyond bronze and iron, there stands a kingdom that does not diminish in value, does not fracture into arms and horns, does not crumble into dust. Daniel saw it, history confirms the metals, and faith looks forward to the stone. So let the lesson of Medo-Persia settle deeply in your heart. Human glory fades, divine sovereignty remains. Build your life on what will still stand when the metals have fallen.